So, I was just thinking about milk frothers and how we use steam ones and milk frothers for like coffee stuff. I'm like, why don't you just spin something, right? That's electrically resistively heated, as it spins. That's also one of the reasons why it spins. It goes backwards and forwards, exchanges a hot and a cold, like a Stirling that causes it to rotate, exchange like this pressure differential, like a Stirling maybe. There's like this other thing, like a sponge perhaps in between. You get it? Super hyper efficient steam that also happens to frother bad boys up. You gotta froth those little molecules up. That's what you gotta do. Standard bullshit, right? Like basic stuff. You just gotta have it like rotate on like this double helical thread. Like people used to print those all the time. Remember those things? And then like that axle, of course, is more like a bearing once you get there, right? And like a little like, hey, this is rotating, right? That kind of thing. It's like, I wonder if that would like, as it rotates, with the stators that are on the inside diameter and the outside diameter of this fucking axle thing, happen to like block, I don't know, an exchange maybe with this vortex induction of this thermoacoustic variety like situation going on towards the end of these like rotating stators that are hollow. Happen to have these like little thin wiry bits just wrapped around them and through them. So that way like a bunch of steam comes out and goes really nice and diffused like. Nothing like a good Stirling steam pump thing for milk frothing. Certainly wouldn't be possible to use this for any other thing like catalytic conversions or, I don't know, a pump of sorts where they mix a fuel and oxidizer. That kind of thing. As it gets choked into like the stator point and then it blooms out like a Duval like convergence-divergence nozzle that happens to mix fuel and air really exceptionally well. Like good for a rocket injector. For my engines that are piston and or turbine driven. Those things. Or maybe I could just use it for like, I don't know, like a big honker boy. This solid fuel of compressed ice of ethanol or something like that. I don't know. I could maybe do that, right? Or maybe I shouldn't use all of the light, the natural light. Should I turn this one off? Should I do that? Should I do, like little... What's the lighting you want? What's that one? You know what I mean? Yeah. Just what it is. Right. Point is, though, of course, as much as all of that's a thing, totally doable, 100%, because, like, I sublimate out the ice, right? But upon getting some air, I can thermally acoustically use that as an increase of, like, efficiency, effectively, for that given heat, cool, exchange, piezoelectric, Stirling, pumpy, wumpy, ooh-like effect that mixes it really well into another chamber that then further burns it. And then it burns some more extra air on the way in through the Duval nozzle point, the little choke point, alright? That little bad boy, little stators, drags, creates nice little previous stators, right, that are into the actual nozzle point, right? But that singes it, but like we're trying to separate it and cause a vortex. Now that vortexy-wexy effect is a really good effect, okay? Because then I can get air as it curves, like in my other videos, to then be like a, I don't know, a carburetor, if you will, with like fuel or air that mixes with a heavier type of fuel, perhaps, rich mixture that then burns in the, bell end aerospike combo I happen to have that happens to have this hollow teardrop stator connected sort of thing that I still have to have these other stators over here so it's like, if I use a teardrop that's hollow in the center, and it's got these like turbuckle kind of things, or tubicles, whatever the fuck they are, I don't care. They're just pokey, pointy bits with channels that, allow for as that then trails off, right? You have to get that to basically be a bunch of, standard, almost like teardrop shapes that choke point and then widen out, almost like a diffuser as it trails off to the rear, which is a bunch of waveguides that get thinner as they go thick at the tip, and they get thinner, like a tapering, if you will. Maybe Alex Steele could help you with that one. Recently did a dagger with a similar type of tapering. But then he needs fullering or channeling or grooving, whichever one you really want with the diffusing of the diffusers here. With these little overhangs that, of course, then allow for you to get this, like, area of like an occlusion almost. So the inside and outside can even together with the inner diameter of this cooled belled in, you know what I mean? So that way it can forcefully create this correct rotational, then diffusal and combustion like effect, which Bernoulli principle wise gives me with the Coandra or Coanda effect and a Venturi system effect a nice good increase of good old mass acceleration for force of a specific impulse total, which then gives me an increase of delta V as it sublimates out, of course, with a detonation velocity gas that I can pump in now as it gets squeezed with a rotating thermoacoustic pump, if you will. Sure, it'd be a shame if somebody were to use that, like me, for like my engines, rocket or otherwise. It would be a shame. Sure, it'd be an interesting phenomenon, wouldn't it be? If I just came up with this just on a quick whim because I looked at my fucking espresso maker and it was like, my milk frother is something I use pretty consistently. I wonder if I can combine those two. Yeah, I'll just fucking start winging and like designing right now. Why don't I just start doing that? Yeah, fuck it. I'll just turn on my phone camera and then start recording and just do it. Make it easy for everybody to immediately understand in one shot and never even plan for it. Fuck AI shit. Why do you need it? You already know everything anyways. You learned to this point, didn't you? So you already know what I'm saying. Right? You don't have a problem with that. Right? Point is, that allows for me to get more total mass and fuel burned over time. Soot, of course, is an increase of like this fuel I can burn because it's not burned fuel under compression and higher heats that then also create this lovely chemistry effect, like a electron hole and redox flow of electrons and, mini work energies with rotating electrons and electron fields and electromagnetics and light that I can reflect and gather back in and phase and correct the given type of frequencies of light to accelerate it and heat it up and align it towards a given direction together with all the vortexy-wexy motherfuckers to enforce a greater degree of speed efficiency. Now granted, that always comes with a cost. It's called there's a boundary layer I'm forcing to definitely be cooled at all times. Sure, it would be a problem if NO2 and NO, nitrogen dioxide and nitrogen oxide, happen to just be all like, yo, what if I didn't give a fuck? I could just get switched into the oxidizer. And then I can just pour fuel when I need it in. So it's oxidizer rich now, and then it gets the fuel. Instead of the fuel first. Could never switch. Ever. There's no way. You can't switch things. That's fucking impossible. Valves, directional tubes, checks, valve direction. What are we even talking about, really? Dumb stuff doesn't exist, never been done before, ever. You know what I mean? I've been awake for a while. I'm just kind of angry because it's like, no, I could totally do that if I had the money and resources and a couple of people. Guess I'm not trying hard enough. Whatever.